an interesting position with Proposition 16 because we have historically been neutral on the question of public power and CCAs, okay? And the thing is that we think that the decisions need to be made by local communities as to whether they're going to expand into public power or join CCAs, not a decision made by TURN, nor a decision made by PG&E. The main reason that TURN opposes Proposition 16 is that the credible threat of public power is the only external condition that we believe pressures PG&E to restrain their price increases and provide quality service. We have no idea whether CCA rates will be less in the long run. What we do know is that PG&E rates are guaranteed, almost guaranteed to rise because of the numerous rate increase requests that they have in front of the Commission. We're a little concerned about PG&E's newfound championship of democracy. We note that this democracy does not extend to their shareholders for voting to have spent this money, nor to ratepayers to approve rate increases. The whole level playing field, spending $35 million versus what's $35,000 that's been raised so far, and PG&E's willingness to spend millions of dollars against every attempt at CCAs really doesn't sound like a level playing field to us. We really feel that PG&E wants to lock in high rates by locking communities out of the opportunity for public power. TURN wishes to request the CPUC to pass a resolution opposing Proposition 16. Thank you.
My name is Mark Loy. I'm here as a private citizen and PG&E customer. I work at the Division of Ratepayer Advocates, but I've taken the time off to be here, so I'm doing this below the line on my own dime.
We understand.
PG&E's Proposition 16 is commercial fraud and anti-competitive behavior masquerading as private free speech. PG&E's election campaign for a 2/3 vote is restraint of trade operating under the guise of a campaign to protect taxpayers from the government. PG&E's campaign constitutes commercial speech because and it's not First Amendment protected speech because I believe it meets 3 criteria. Number one, the speech is directed at a commercial audience, that is PG&E's customers. Number two, the speech, PG&E's speech contains commercial and economic facts, that is the costs and risks to customers of purchasing PG&E's property. And finally, number three, PG&E's corporate speech is likely to influence customer decision-making for PG&E's commercial's product, that is, who will provide the electric service. PG&E's campaign is not free speech and is not fair. PG&E has $35 million from ratepayer revenues to erect an unfair barrier to those very customers' choice. It's unfair because customers do not have a government-regulated monopoly franchise to finance their speech and campaigns, and municipal utilities and irrigation districts are prohibited by law from competing with that PG&E speech and its front routes. The Commission needs to vote to oppose PG&E's attempts to strangle competition and stifle customer choice. In the past, the Commission has voted to oppose similar propositions that threaten competitive electricity market. Ratepayers from government elections should logically and reasonably extend it to include the option of state regulation of PG&E. And just to close, again, I urge the Commission, I thank you very much for holding this hearing. Obviously, did very good work, but I urge you to place this on the calendar and vote to oppose Proposition 16. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise, Joanne?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Denise Viana. I'm a member of San Francisco Tomorrow, California Alliance for Retired Americans, the Harvey Milk Lesbian Gay Club, Senior Action Network, and in which I hold different positions in these groups, and all of which organizations have recommended a no vote on Proposition 16. It has been established law since 1890 when Congress passed the Sherman Antitrust Act sponsored by Republican Senator John Sherman against monopolies which PG&E represents. It has been established constitutional principle that Americans have freedom of choice. It has been established domestic issues that Americans have freedom of choice in the market of goods and services. Note the vast array of breakfast cereals and other products. So why should we accept PG&E's Proposition 16, which denies for all time our freedom of choice in how we obtain our energy needs? We know from state government that 2/3 vote is impossible to get, and that a minority of 1/3 has inordinate power to make decisions for the majority. As you, President Peavy, has already acknowledged. So you, as a Public Utilities Commission, need to prevent this distortion of choice. And thank you very much.
My name is Michael Bailey. I'm representing here today Lorraine Grace, who's one of the people who provided funding, helped secure the loan for the Marine Energy Authority late January that allowed the Marine Energy Authority to continue. So Lorraine was to come to this meeting today. She asked me to read a statement that as a stakeholder in Marine Energy Authority, I am dismayed by the efforts of PG&E to destroy MEA. As a private corporation, Pacific Gas and Electric has a commitment to return a profit to its shareholders. It is not committed necessarily to serving the common good. I am aware that AB 117 mandates that PG&E support community choice aggregations, CCAs. I consider that PG&E is not being supportive of MEA in any way. I've reviewed and had 3 other independent investment managers review the financial plan of MEA. MEA's financial plan is exceptionally strong. The only difficulty MEA will have to survive is the political opposition of PG&E. I can also understand that PG&E is using some of its energy efficiency money to fight MEA. PG&E has dedicated money to oppose MEA, totally perhaps to some $36 million in support of Proposition 16, which would make it extraordinarily difficult for any CCA in California to expand. Almost all public energy authorities in California currently have both lower rates and or more renewable green energy than PG&E. All of them are choosing to rely on non-nuclear energy to produce electricity, something which I feel glad about in our earthquake-prone state. I find it shocking and ironic that PG&E seeks to oppose the first 100% renewable energy CCA in the United States when PG&E is missing its own renewable energy targets. PG&E Vice President Nancy McFadden actually said to an MEA official that PG&E would crush the Marine Energy Authority. Yeah. PG&E is doing this with its energy efficiency money, which comes entirely from ratepayers. I ask that the PUC immediately restrict PG&E's use of energy efficiency money in this way. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Larry Chang. I'm an Oakland small business owner, a volunteer for San Francisco Environment, and a proud member of the local Clean Energy Alliance. I'm also a student of history, and just briefly, I want to touch on facts covering 2 aspects. First, PG&E's long-standing opposition to public power and competition, and secondly, PG&E's bankruptcy and bailout occurring earlier in this decade. First, to start with PG&E's hatred of competition. This has been ongoing for nearly 90 years. It began in 1923 when Sacramento residents voted to create their own municipal utility. However, that wasn't able to get underway until 1946 after 12 years in litigation with PG&E. In the 80s, PG&E fought the annexation of Folsom, but Folsom residents voted to join SMUD. In 2006 and 2008, I think we're well aware of the involvement of PG&E in the defeat of SMUD's Yolo County annexation proposal and the implementation of a CCA plan by the San Joaquin Valley Power Authority. Next, I want to turn to the bankruptcy and corporate bailout. This bailout occurred largely at the expense of ratepayers. Somehow, though, in 2004, PG&E still saw fit to pay $83 million to its top 17 executives in the form of executive retention bonuses, while at the same time it reduced its funding for the REACH program, which was created to help out those who most badly needed it. Does this sound familiar? Corporate bailout, executive bonuses. I think I've had enough, which is why I cannot depend on PG&E to meet my needs, and I'm voting no on 16.
Hello, I'm Michael Boyd, and I'm the president of Californians for Renewable Energy, Inc., CARE. Although I'm not speaking for CARE, CARE is a nonprofit corporation, and don't tend to get involved in the political stuff, but I'm going to speak for myself. Personally, I'm opposed to Prop 16. The reason I'm opposed to Prop 16 is I believe it's unconstitutional. I believe that the government is covered by the government code section of the state law. And I believe PG&E is covered by the public utility code and the business code, which are part of state law. They're separate state laws. I think it's fallacious for PG&E to imply that the government would get into business. The government is there to provide public service, and I believe that any government agency has a right to expand service if they can afford to do it, if it's feasible. That's not to say that I think that community choice aggregation is good, because all you got to do is look at what's going on right now. It's not happening. They're not forming community choice aggregation. You've heard the gentleman before. Shell oil isn't the answer. People don't want Shell oil. If that's what they got a choice between Shell oil and PG&E, they're not going to vote for Shell oil. That's for sure. I think the city of San Francisco had plenty of opportunities for public power, but they decided to put fossil fuel power plants in front of the priority of public power. And the peakers in San Francisco are a good example of it. What I find the most odd, though, is Willie Brown getting up here, Slick Willie, speaking for PG&E, okay? He's got to be paid for. And this is the same guy that brought us Lennar. The same guy who's exposing us all to asbestos dust from Lennar's activities. None of them have any credibility. The voters got to decide for themselves. Prop 16, if it passes, it's going to federal court. Bye.
Thank you.
I'm Michael Barrett, a small business owner here in San Francisco for over 40 years. Number one, I want to thank the agenda that you put on today for Proposition 16. The CPUC did a hell of a good job with informational hearing. I, of course, am against Proposition 16, and I think all of my constituents represented that very well. I just want to thank today for being a great lesson in what democracy can achieve. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you to the PUC for having this meeting. Thank you to the Local Clean Energy Alliance in turn, and everybody else who's worked on No on 16. Here as a private citizen, PG&E ratepayer, as a green job seeker, as somebody who's been looking for work in the solar industry for over a year, I want to say that this initiative is a bold-faced attempt to submarine, to sink the job creation that the country needs, that the city needs, that everybody here needs. It's just, on the face of it, it's a bad faith effort. When I moved to San Francisco in 2003, one of the first things I remember is state government trying to pass a budget. And why was it so hard? Because it takes a 2/3 vote. That's the magic number for obstruction. Why not a 52% vote for this to happen? Why not a plurality? I didn't vote for PG&E to be my electricity utility provider. They just are. So that it's just obviously an attempt to solidify their monopoly. What the solar industry is waiting for is contracts. And CCA is an opportunity to create jobs through contracts, which is more opportunities to find business opportunities for clean, renewable energy, which everybody needs right now. All I ask is that the CPUC do everything in your power to keep this ridiculousness from taking effect, whether it's upholding laws that guarantee CCA or just seeing the bigger picture and the light that this is an attempt to hurt the ratepayers and to hurt the industry of renewable energy, and it angers me to no end. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Woody Hastings. I'm from Sonoma County, and I'm here with the local Clean Energy Alliance. So a couple quick comments, just some things we've already spoken about, but maybe some slight additional things here. To the issue of AB 117 requiring cooperation with CCAs, and we've also heard from Supervisor Ross Mugarini about that there's also a CPUC statute on that. You know, earlier the attorney for the yes on 16 tried to say that this is not about CCAs, and then when she went on to describe what it is about, she described CCAs. Just a point there. I just wanted to state it clearly, in my view, and I haven't really heard it stated today, that Prop 16 itself is non-cooperation with community choice aggregation. The next point is to the whole issue of the whole 2/3 majority requirement in the vote, the whole thing of PG&E now being some kind of enlightened champion of democracy because they want to see all these votes where it's going to take 2/3 of the electorate to make this tough decision. You know, what's actually going to happen, Commissioner Ryan, you were talking about, is adequate vetting going to take place, if you didn't have this 2/3 thing. With Prop 16, there's going to be no vetting, because what's going to happen is the municipalities, the aggregators, are going to see what's stacked against them, literally and figuratively. What's stacked against them is the cash, stacks of cash. The voters are never going to have any kind of vote at all. It's just not going to happen. It's no democracy. So one other point. We've had this title up here. This might seem silly, but we've had this title up here, the thing, the whole time in this hearing, that the name of this thing is the new 2/3 vote requirement for local public electricity providers. PG&E continues to call it the Taxpayers' Right to Vote Act. If you can't do anything else, can you at least require them in their communications with the public to use the legal definition of this proposition? In my view, community choice aggregation, in my view, serves the public interest, and I'm proud to say I believe the CPUC serves the public interest. I recognize that. I thank you for that. PG&E and Prop 16 does not serve the public interest, and I urge you to take a public position in opposition to Prop 16. Thank you very much.
Well, I wrote about 2.5, 3 pages of stuff, but everybody already said it all, so I'm not trying to bore anybody. I do want to say that this thing, it's about voting. That's ridiculous. That's a lie. I mean, it's just a lie. It's 2/3. That's about the minority getting the success. I'm in the solar industry. I've worked with Solar Sonoma County. I went to the MEA meeting the other day. As a matter of fact, I thought they were very responsive. It was huge back and forth. I don't see what this guy was saying. I mean, the MEA is listening to the people already. I've benefited from the Skype program. Now, is that going to be affected by this too? Because they raised money for that, the Skype program. Are they going to have to take a 2/3 vote on that now too? And the Skype program is great. It works for everybody. It makes my customers experience a levelized cost. They experience cost savings, and I can't see how these people are saying costs are going to go up from the CCAs. I see it as the opposite way because peak oil is happening, fossil fuels are going out the door, and nuclear and hydro are absolutely horrible. Give me a break. Give me a break. The only reason they're considered cheap is because they've externalized all the costs. You know, I'm a fisherman too. I go up to Alaska. I'm from Humboldt County. And our fish are dead. They're gone. And that's because of the hydro plant. And that costs no ratepayer paid for that. If they'd had to, they wouldn't have been doing hydro. Because that was a huge industry. And I had to go up to Alaska for 5 years to fish. You know, and pay for school. I paid for school on my own. You know, I mean, so I'm sorry, I'm getting a little upset about that. Because I kept hearing nuclear and hydro. Small hydro, like irrigation districts, that's great because that water's already flowing. If they're producing power, that's awesome. But that's not an option. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I do applaud the MEA, and I support them, and I support Solar Sonoma and San Francisco effort, and I hope that you can trounce this in any way you can.
Hi there. I'm Carrie Christainer. I recently moved to California 6 months ago or so. I live in Sonoma County. And the thing I think I've been struck the most by since I've been here is how much of a problem California is in. And I think when you're outside of California, you might read it in the paper a little bit. But it seems to me that the magic 2/3 has something to do with why California is having a huge problem, and that would include obviously the local level. But I think another thing I was really surprised at is to hear that PG&E is not meeting their renewable standard goals. And I think that's why, for me, I feel that it's particularly egregious to see PG&E supporting the Yes on 16 campaign. I could go on, but a lot of other people have said what I think, but I would like to address a specific issue, and that is that I own property in northern Colorado. And on the way to my cabin, I have to go into Wyoming. Along this 20 miles stretch of red dirt road, Shell Wind Energy is proposing a 300 megawatt wind farm. And closer to my cabin, Ridgeline Energy is proposing up to a 500 megawatt wind farm. I 2 weeks ago went to my HOA where Ridgeline Energy officials were nice enough to come and answer questions. And I can almost guarantee you that they're all looking to see what's going to happen in this election. There's a saying, build it and they will come. I think it was from a movie. Shell Wind Energy, Shell Energy is, known for certain things. However, I can guarantee you if there's a market for clean energy, build it and they will come. And I thank you for your time. I strongly oppose Proposition 16, and I hope that you will oppose it as well. Thank you.
My name is David Erickson, and I'm Senior Carbon Analyst with Local Power Incorporated. One of our primary activities right now as a company, or one of our big activities, is working on a grant program in Sonoma County and also San Luis Obispo County called Renewable-Based Energy Secured Communities, RESCO, funded by the California Energy Commission. We are basically pushing the envelope on what can be done to localize the energy supply for at a community level, county level, or smaller. We're investigating primarily the carbon impact, minimizing the carbon impacts from the energy supply in the transportation sector, electricity sector, and the thermal natural gas sector. Trying to provide all the energy supply for our community from the local renewable resources to provide the minimum carbon impact. Our view is that without community choice aggregation or some form of community energy, and community choice aggregation is really the only way right now for a community to implement a low carbon portfolio, that we feel like this low carbon vision at a community level could not happen. So we think Proposition 16 would be highly destructive to relocalizing the electricity supply, the energy supply generally in California. Thank you.
I'm with the whole alliance of groups behind Marin Clean Energy. I'll be
You
brief.
were before us last week, I believe.
I was here with the mail. I just wanted to include just a sampling of the many groups who have looked at Prop 16 and oppose it. Cities like Glendale, Gridley, Lodi, Palo Alto, Redding, Roseville, San Rafael, Santa Clara, Sebastopol, utility districts, Burbank, Modesto, NorCal Power Agency, Redding, Sacramento, and a real wide swath of groups, the AARP, the Association of California Agriculture Energy Consumers, the Municipal Utilities Association, California Realtors, California Tax Reform Association. So the opposition is broad, but yesterday I was, my 7-year-old daughter was helping me paint a sign for our Prop 16 rally, and she was coloring it in. She goes, PG&E has $35 million. How much do we have, Mom? And I said, oh, about $3. That's why we're having this ridiculous rally out here, because we can't pay for full-page ads every day in every newspaper, and we can't pay for these mailers. So we have to get out and earn our media. But to have to say to my kid that 35 million may well likely beat this breadth of opposition, because they'll call it the Taxpayers' Right to Vote Act. They won't call it what it actually is, and they'll convince people that it's something it just isn't. So I do really hope that you will support a resolution against Prop 16 and really support the idea of a moratorium on the communication activities in Marin and San Francisco. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, Commissioners. Former Speaker Brown made the statement earlier this afternoon that PG&E is trying to involve their customers. Well, as a resident of West Marin, I can assure you that this is very true. I have received weekly for months glossy mailers threatening me and my neighbors, receiving phone calls, etc. Last week I received a letter that offered me at PG&E's expense home repairs, including ceiling insulation, repairing windows, and if I needed a new refrigerator or a cooling system, all I needed to do was apply, and they possibly would be able to help me out. I'm stunned to believe that these offers are actually being made across California, or is it possible that I and my neighbors who are receiving similar mailings and phone calls are being targeted during the opt-out period for Marin Clean Energy? I question whether this is an appropriate use of ratepayer or even our public efficiency funds. I really don't think it is, whatever we name it. I'm not sure we'll get to the bottom of that, but I hope that you will vote to oppose Prop 16 and especially hold PG&E accountable for their arrogant abuse of the CCA process. Please do it soon. The money they are spending is co-opting honest discussion about how a community such as ours can meet even our mandated renewable objectives. Thank you.
I'm Rob Simpson. Shauna ceded her time to me. She's a staff attorney for Communities for a Better Environment. Communities for a Better Environment has taken a position against Proposition 16. I'm a member of CBE. One of the speakers referred to PG&E action as a rogue action. I'd like to expand on that a little bit. 2 days ago, a Sacramento judge heard my lawsuit regarding the false and misleading statements on the ballot. 2 weeks ago, a 2/3 majority of Air District Hearing Board members agreed with my appeal of the PG&E permit for the Humboldt Bay Power Plant. The facility is being constructed to utilize 10 Soviet ship engines modified to operate on diesel fuel and natural gas. They intend to burn up to 270,000 gallons of diesel fuel per day across the road from an elementary school and a national wildlife refuge. The air quality impact would be like 11,000 heavy diesel trucks at idle next to the school. PG&E defrauded the community, publicizing that the new plant would emit 90% fewer air emissions than the existing plant, when in fact it will be at least 5 times more emissions. 2 months ago, the U.S. Department of Justice took jurisdiction of my appeal of the Gateway Generating Station in Antioch. They charged PG&E with violating the Clean Air Act by constructing and operating the facility without permits or pollution controls. PG&E perpetuated a massive fraud against the people and the PUC by hiding the fact that they had no permits while collecting compensation through the PUC for obtaining permits. They made about enough by skipping the permitting and collecting fees for this facility to fund this assault on the Constitution. This facility, as most PG&E generation sources, just barely affects low-income communities of color. 2 years ago, federal authorities agreed with my appeal that PG&E's partners, GE, and Calpine's illegal processing of a permit for a power plant in Hayward. At the present rate, with the present location on the edge of the San Francisco Bay, by the time the facility is built, it will be underwater. Today I'm here to file a complaint. Looks like my time is up though. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As you know, I've been in the proceedings for a number of years in the energy efficiency proceedings in Connecticut. Commissioner Ryan, it's nice to meet you. I am speaking about my role on the outside, though. In Marin County, I'm very much involved in the energy work of the Marin Energy Authority. I was actually one of the people that introduced community choice to the city of Berkeley when I was energy commissioner in the 90s, and I helped lobby to pass the law. I helped keep the energy efficiency provisions in it. The issue about energy efficiency have interested me for 3 decades, and I thought it was really notable that the only nuclear power plant that was ever closed by a vote of the people was in Sacramento Municipal Utility District, and that was because it was a public power district. That's why you got a vote. And we unfortunately cannot vote on Diablo Canyon. Boy, I wish we could. I saw that energy efficiency was used to replace the nuke, so I thought that was pretty amazing that they could do that with energy efficiency. It's it can be used as a real resource. I wanted that to happen. I figured out after many years how to get into energy efficiency proceedings in the CPUC, and that's where I am currently very involved in trying to prevent PG&E from misusing the energy efficiency funds to fight community choice. I have seen this happening in Yolo County in San Francisco, but in Marin I was able to document their use of energy efficiency in detail. We have a video on our website that shows Chris Warner, as a matter of fact, and his team in Novato offering energy efficiency bribes to Novato as an inducement for them to oppose community choice. I have filed these stories in my filings in the proceedings. I have an application for rehearing currently because I'm asking the Commission to shut down these practices by PG&E. I mean, the decision last fall said that they shouldn't do this. Well, they're still doing it, unfortunately, and now we've got them getting into the act with low-income money, which is really reprehensible, to use low-income money to fight CCAs and to waste energy efficiency funds this way. I ask that the Commission take another look at my application for rehearing. It's pending before you. It has been here since November. And I believe that this is an absolute necessity to protect the community choice in Marin, but also is something that we really need to look at statewide, because the use of energy efficiency, you just have to know there's one really clever way that they are able to use energy efficiency that may not seem obvious. It's a political slush fund because they measure all sorts of things about energy efficiency except for one thing, and that is where is it happening, where do you get the savings, and where do they spend the money? That can be anywhere. PG&E has $450 million this year to use on energy efficiency programs. That dwarfs the $36 million that they're spending on Prop 16, and they can absolutely use that to increase their political funding for Prop 16 and to using it all over the place in Marin as they have been doing for 3 years now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Ed Mainland. I live in Novato, and I'm here to speak for State Sierra Club. I'm the chair of State Sierra Club's Energy Committee. We not only oppose Prop 16, all of our 200,000 members up and down the state, but we ask you to take a position opposing Prop 16, as you did in opposing Prop 7, which we opposed too, and for many of the same reasons. The sloppy drafting, the ambiguity, the deliberate ambiguity, the prospect of endless litigation that would arise from Prop 16, but more important, the fact that no other company in California, to our knowledge, has the constitutionally protected monopoly status. So what's to stop other wealthy corporations from dipping into their kitty and buying constitutional protection from competition in the same way that PG&E is doing? If they succeed with Prop 16, this will have nefarious effect on our Constitution. It should be of great concern to you and legislators and California's public. Just one note, I live in Nevada, in Marin, and I was a first-hand witness at what Barbara George was referring to, and public good charge money being deployed in Nevada to induce the city not to join MEA and go for a bogus PG&E alternative plan that has not yet materialized. Also, I can testify to the fact that in Marin, there is no equal playing field. They're in the public arena. It's whoever owns the biggest microphone, and PG&E owns the biggest microphone. Just in the past 3 weeks, I've got these 5 mailers from PG&E, and many of the statements in these mailers are erroneous or misleading or tendentious, and you really should do something to rein in this powerful corporation from abusing its power. I'll leave a letter from State Sierra Club with you, if I may, cataloging all the reasons why Prop 16 should be something you should oppose as a commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you state your name again?
My name is Edward Mainland.
Thank you, Mr. Mainland.
Good evening, Eric Brooks. I'm here representing the Community Choice Energy Alliance, which has been fighting an incredible battle to get community choice here in San Francisco against a lot of attacks from PG&E. First, I want to address the fact that Prop 16 does, in fact, restrict greatly renewable energy projects. And it says in the language that it's protecting them, but that's just a ruse, because what that language applies to is just simply, for example, putting some solar panels on a roof. It does not, that language will block CCAs and other citywide projects that will bring real large amounts of renewables online, because you can't just do it all at once. You've got to build an entire infrastructure that is not just renewable energy infrastructure. So this will block any realistic attempts to deal with the climate crisis. The second thing I'll ask from you is that you go beyond just passing a resolution against Prop 16 and actually move to restrict PG&E from doing any more communications in favor of Prop 16 and against CCAs. Because when AB 117 passed, PG&E put itself in a special position where they agreed to fully cooperate. That means you have the power to restrict speech that they're using that is not in full cooperation with community choice. And their communications are claiming that community choice aggregation will make prices go up. There's absolutely no evidence of that. In fact, there's evidence to the contrary. In Ohio, they used community choice to switch from cheap coal to more expensive natural gas, and rates went down. And the reason for that is that when you're a community choice aggregation operator, there's no profit involved, and you can engage large-scale efficiency in your program so that you'll lower costs. It's not just about windmills and solar panels, it's about how you switch. So when they use in their advertising for Prop 16 this argument that rates are going to go up, that is incredibly specious and deceptive, and you have the power based on AB 117 to stop that speech, and I urge you to immediately give a restraining order against them on any more advertising for Prop 16, and then further on any advertising against CCAs. Thanks.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Dave Room. I am the coordinator of the Local Clean Energy Alliance. It's an alliance of over 50 organizations and local businesses that are doing advocacy work for renewable energy and energy efficiency and clean energy jobs in the Bay Area. Now, there's two ways that a company can dominate their market, and one is to provide a superior service for a great price, and the other way is what I call the Tanya Harding method. And that's where you kneecap the competition. This is illegal. Well, Darrell Steinberg, Senator Pro Tem, said that PG&E's actions could be interpreted as a violation of AB 117, as a number of the speakers have said earlier, and I would urge you to curtail the commercial speech speech that is in violation. We're public power, a private corporation. This affront to democracy would not be tolerated. Since it is public, no one is really standing to defend her, and she can't really defend herself because despite corporations being able to spend unlimited amounts on elections such as these, public entities such as municipal power and community choice cannot spend a dime, and they can't even spend a working minute on this. So we need governance to help level this playing field. Something's wrong, the balance of power here. And California Supreme Court Justice Ronald George said that the initiative process is paralyzed in California. He says nowhere is the practice of government by voter initiative as extreme as it is in California. Few states permit constitutional amendments by majority public vote without legislative oversight. I would say that the poster child of ballot box lawmaking is Proposition 16, PG&E's power grab. They are the sole financial supporter of this initiative, and it will enshrine their monopoly in the state constitution. It will lock in high rates. It will reduce consumer choice. They say they want to protect us, but it seems to me that they will be protecting shareholder profits. And I just want to, my time is up, but I do want to just recognize that not only in 1911 was this commission formed, but at the same time the ballot box, the ballot initiative process, and it was started here in California. And it was done so that voters could bypass a legislator controlled by railroads and special interests. And we're seeing these same special interests basically bypassing us again with this initiative. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Berman. I live in Davis and have written extensively about energy and utilities. I've served on city task forces and have been an analyst here at the PUC. I want to thank President Peavy and Commissioners Ryan and Simon for sitting through these long meetings. Basically, requiring a 2/3 vote is a frontal assault on the right of voter majorities to choose their electricity providers. The idea is to kill the expansion of public power once and for all. PG&E's prime target, in addition to the Marin Energy Authority, is the South San Joaquin Irrigation District, which is campaigning to serve 40,000 new customers in the retail electricity business in its irrigation territory. PG&E is terrified of the nearby example of the Modesto Irrigation District because PG&E charges 25% more than Modesto, and everybody knows it down there. Farmers whose electricity usage for water pumping soars in times of drought are especially eager to expand the public option for irrigation districts. No wonder the California Agricultural Energy Consumers Association is lined up against Prop 16. Prop 16 is especially galling in today's depressive economy, but PG's response, in addition to Prop 16, has been to file for a 30% rate increase with the California PUC. They're going to pick your pocket again. Hopefully, President Peavy and the commissioners will hold Prop 16 hearings in South San Joaquin County, as well as in the Southland, because not everybody can afford to come to San Francisco to testify. I hope they decide, that the commission decides, as it did a couple of years ago, to come out with a decision against Prop 16 after due consideration. When all is said and done, please reject the zillion-dollar propaganda blitz, which we know is coming, and vote no on Prop 16. Now, I've also included for the commissioners and whoever wants it, count that the city of Davis voted last night 5-0 against Prop 16, and then we have a piece on our called Jousting with the Octopus, the ratepayer revolt for public power, how PG&E beat us in Davis. And this is the kind of thing you don't normally see at the commission. Thank you very much.
My name is Ken Metler. I'm a small business owner. I am the past president of the CRA, the California Republican Assembly. I'm also an elected trustee of the Kern High School District Board. I'm also a supporter of the Kern County Taxpayers Association. And I've also helped found Californians for Fair Utility Rates. I'm here today to discuss PG&E's general rate case and Proposition 16, which some refer to as the Pacific Gas and Electric Paycheck Protection Act. Now is the time to cut government spending. It's the time to reduce regulation, and it's the time to reduce taxes. Proposition 16 does none of these, and in fact, it does just the opposite. PG&E has just proposed one of the largest general rate increases in the history of California, an increase of more than $1 billion for 2011, and more than $4 billion for the years 2011 through 2013. If this proposal is enacted, the cost for essential utility services will skyrocket for California residents, businesses, and industries from Bakersfield to Reading. The general rate case proposal is functionally equivalent to a huge stealth tax increase without any review or approval by the legislature or the voters. If Proposition 16 passes, we can expect more of the same. It is simply inappropriate to impose such large additional cost on ratepayers under current economic conditions. Reduced rates will stimulate economic growth in communities hard hit by the recession. We do not need a new multi-billion dollar utility tax that will stifle economic recovery. Further, requiring a 2/3 vote, this measure creates an additional barrier beyond the normal voter approval process and defeats a competitive process. Thank you for your time.
Commissioners, I'm with the Sierra Club in the East Bay. Just wanted to say that the great interest in community choice, it didn't come by accident. It came because everybody in the country is quite worried about greenhouse gases and about the survivability of our people and of our communities and about our country. And it's in response to the fact that PG&E is way behind in its mandated renewable percentages and is investing heavily in fossil fuels and is basically can't be depended upon to really solve our energy problems. One of the things is that we need to reduce demand significantly, and we have to utilize the conservation and energy efficiency. And we all know that for PG&E, it's not really in their basic self-interest to do that. And to the extent that they are involved in efficiency programs and whatnot, it's largely because it's been mandated by CPUC. So for communities to really achieve the kind of greenhouse gases they need, it's important for them to be able to control their energy. And that's where CCA really comes from in the first place. These stakes here are very high in the ability of the CPUC to unleash the kind of creative enterprise that's required in all our communities to reduce greenhouse gases, to increase our sustainable communities, to provide green jobs, and to find a way out of the economic crisis that we're in. So in light of this, you bring in PG&E doing all the things that people talked about today. What really is put at stake, in addition to the very broad things that I just mentioned, is really, I think, in many people's mind, is going to be the integrity and the legitimacy of the CPUC in terms of being able to address the needs of the community in the way that I mentioned. If you don't take a stand against Prop 16, you're basically on the wrong side of history and on the wrong side of what's really important and needed. So that should be a very important consideration in terms of the old saying, which side are you on? Are you on the side of a future for our communities or on the side of reinforcing, underwriting PG&E's profit line? Thank you very much.
Commissioner Ryan, did you have any closing remarks?
For those of you who've hung in there all afternoon long, thank you for being here with us. And those of you who are still here who did speak today, thank you for your contributions today.
Yeah, I want to echo the same remarks. I am not certain this time if the President is going to place this matter on an agenda for a vote. I just want to say in closing that anytime as a commission we weigh in one side or the other on a matter that is going before the voters, I think that's a very strong statement that's made one way or the other, but I clearly trust the leadership of President Peavy and my fellow commissioners to make the appropriate decision as to how we will either collectively or individually affect this. I do, and I'm sure I share, I believe Commissioner Ryan shares my views, that I do have an expectation that going forward, the PG&E will do everything within its power to maintain fair and accurate communications until such time that this commission votes on a moratoria, for lack of a better term, of communications regarding this. There have been allegations that energy efficiency dollars have been used as inducements. I have grave concerns regarding that, and my staff will be looking into those allegations. Those dollars should not, under any circumstances, those ratepayer dollars should not be used, in my view, as one commissioner, I do not speak for this commission, for political purposes. So with that said, I want to thank all of you for your involvement, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from you more in the future, one way or the other, either by way of the flood of emails we're receiving in our inboxes by certain organizations, and or your letters and comments and editorials and concerns. So everybody have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day, and thank you again for your participation.